Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and call you Levine. No.
We can say divine.
If you report my bill, sir, you can call me whatever you want.
Well, I'll call you Levine.
Yeah. Now let's chat about this bill. So,
Go ahead, Dylan.
HB 2133 is designed to protect the integrity of the election system. This subcommittee, this committee, this House, frankly, under the able leadership of both Chairman Cole and Delegate Mark.
Make sure you get that on tape.
Yeah.
It's true. In this respect, you both did a terrific job in helping to get rid of the machine counted votes in Virginia by 2020. And we all know that's going to happen, and I was a big supporter of that, and I'm glad that's going to be done. And I think the reason why that was a good idea was because people trust a ballot, the oval they fill in, more than a machine where they're not sure how it's counting. And it's all about people respecting the integrity of the election process. And I am fully convinced that those hand ballots, counted by counters and machines, get it right the vast majority of the time, and in elections that aren't close, are more than sufficient for my taste. However, in a recount situation, when it's tight, when people are watching, frankly, that's the time when people are most concerned, most uptight, most partisan, and most watching the process to make sure we get it right. We want to know who won. So, what my bill does is it says, in a recount procedure, you take 1% random sample of the ballots cast, and we know how they were cast on election night. You run through the machine on election night, and then you run them at the machine in the recount process. And if the results are identical, and with the hand count identical, like let's say there's a precinct of 5,000 people, we're talking 50 ballots, so this is not an onerous task. If they're all identical, the machines are trusted, run them through the machines, it's done exactly, the law is exactly as it is done now. But if they are not identical, if the two machines count them differently from the hand count, then if either party wants a full hand count, there will be a full hand count. And again, hopefully it wouldn't be statewide, hopefully it'd be a delegate race or something, but yeah, it's true, it could in some rare instances actually be a statewide recount. And that way voters would be confident that paper ballots were actually used. It wasn't just the machines rendering some verdict, but people actually looked at the paper, they saw the oval. I have heard from some of the registrars who consider hand counts to be onerous, and I respect that. I realize it's not the easiest, quickest way, which is why I'm only here. Yeah.
Could you set up back there? We'd like to reserve the front for people that want to sit up there.
Thank you.
I understand that, and that's why I'm not requiring it in all elections or even most elections, only in the closest elections. And I'm even willing, and it would all depend on what this subcommittee would like me to do, but I was just talking with a couple of registrars outside, and they were pointing out to me that the machines already kick out undervotes and overvotes. In other words, votes that aren't counted for anyone in the race, or if somebody votes twice. And those are already looked at by hand. And I think that's great. I would even be willing to amend the bill to say, just look at the votes that aren't kicked out as undervotes and overvotes. And if machine A and machine B and hand count agree, we're done. But if machine A and machine B and hand count disagree, something could be off. Let's give confidence to the voters. Let's do a full hand count with our partisan Democrat and our partisan Republican watching over it. And if they disagree, the court decides, so that everyone is confident that whoever wins the election, which is everyone wins. And that's what's intended to do. I've tried to keep it as modest as I possibly can. I'm happy to answer any questions from the committee. I should say before I do that I do have a letter from Verified Voting, Virginia Verified Voting. Alex Blakeborn is on to be here today.
Pass that around.
I think he sent it to all of you, but he supports this measure, and he points out that there are tests done, but that tests are done over these sort of perfect ballots for tests, and not over the voters who are less perfect perhaps than a test ballot. And we all know there are voters who circle and put a check mark, or circle and don't fill an oval, and this would actually look at the actual vote count and randomly selected, and not just at a test. Okay. Happy to circulate this, although I think he sent it to all of you, if I'm correct about that.
Okay, Delegate Levine.
Why
What's the genesis of this? Is this
My
something
own brain.
Is this, I'm just curious. So second question.
I can give you actually more of an answer.
Yeah.
Part of the genesis of this was when, and just I'll just be completely honest with you, when they did the recounts in the presidential election, I believe it was Michigan and Wisconsin had hand ballots, but they used the machines to count them. And people thought, well, that seems awfully fishy. And you might say, well, that was to help a Democrat, but it's really not a Democrat or Republican issue. I want people to have faith in the election process. And the reason I think why Virginia decided, again, under the leadership of Chairman Cole and Delegate Rasul, to get rid of the machines is because people knew that paper is a paper record. It's like a receipt. It's something you trust. This is done by the voter. And at the end of the day, if the machines aren't counting them right, I want people to look at the actual paper.
So, I'll say, have you passed this by the mathematicians and statisticians? Because, I mean, you do 1% through the machine, I mean, that's still not, I mean,
It's not 99%, and frankly, if
What's-
the committee
what's it?
wanted more, I'd be fine with it, but the people I've talked to about this have said that if there's a flaw, it should be captured in the 1%. And if there's no flaw, it's not a perfect system. I tried to be modest about it. If this committee wanted 5%, you're not gonna hear boo from me, but I did 1% to be modest.
Thank you. Delegate Quinn.
I think Delegate O'Bannon may have addressed, I was just gonna ask if is there a specific instance, but I think you answered the question, because just seems a curious way to approach this particular issue.
Okay, any other questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
Delegate Rasul, to the mathematician's point, the statistician will tell you it's not a percentage. It's going to be a raw number relative to the total. So, if it's 50 votes in a precinct, and you take 1% of it, that's not gonna be a statistically significant random sample. If you've got 50,000 votes somewhere and you take 1%, that will be statistically significant.
It's larger than full.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone like to speak in favor of this bill? Okay, would anyone like to speak in opposition? Sir, and for the rest of the meeting, please state your name and if you are representing a particular organization.
I'm Bill Jenkins. I'm a voter registrar in Sussex County. I don't remember the Voter Registrar Association really discussing this bill this heavy, so I'm speaking as a registrar. But I did take engineering in school, and here's the simple problem I have. I want accuracy, but if you ran 200 ballots through the machine, and you had one mistake, 1 out of 200 is a 0.5% mistake. 1 out of 100 is a 1% mistake. 1 out of 50, which would be 1% of that would be 2% mistake. So it depends on how many you run through that machine to get that mistake. I would much rather feel like if you ran all the ballots through the machine and it was, all those ballots in that precinct and it was a statistically a big number off, then there's your problem. But just running 50, it exaggerates. It reminds me of when I used to sell wheat. They had to find one little grain of garlic in there, they'd cut you. Well, they only run about a little bit in there, and that one grain, and if that just happened to be there, it exaggerated how much the problem is. I would say if you ran the whole thing through, and the recount showed 4 or 5% off, yeah, something wrong with that machine.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Delegate Cole.
Yeah,
For
for
the
the registrar, yeah.
Sure.
I mean, we already, before the election, we have to certify and test those machines, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Right, and I assume you do that by running ballots through there and then comparing them and see if it got the right results, correct?
Yes, and the machines are also set up so that if someone cast, marked 2 presidents, it would kick that one out. In other words, the machines are set up to kick a mistake, and usually you catch a vote and go, hey, you made a mistake, and you redo a ballot. But yes, you do test those machines and keep those ballots.
All right, Delegate Levine, final thoughts?
My final thought is this: the whole goal of this is to improve confidence of people. If people think 1% is not enough, if we wanna do 10%, again, you're not gonna hear any argument from me, I was trying to be modest here. But if in a 1% sample, there's a mistake, all I'm saying is, let's do it the same way we do for overvotes and undervotes. Let's have human beings look at it, everyone will know that it's a fair, open process, and no one thinks anything squirrely is going on. You know, we do a test before election day, but the test ballots, with due respect, are cast by test examiners, and real people do all kinds of things with ballots that I don't think they can even think of in some of these tests. I would be willing, if this committee thinks it goes too far, to say that the only thing they test are there are ballots that are not kicked out as undervotes or overvotes. I have that as an amendment if you're interested to present or not, either way we plan to go. But again, my goal is to show confidence, and if machines are working and match the hand count, then everyone in the Commonwealth can say, we know who won that election.
I would say that we've had very close elections in Virginia, even at the statewide level. Republican has won one, or a Democrat won the other, and after the recount, they were very accurate. Unlike other states, the outcome didn't change, and the vote total shift was very small. So I'm inclined to support this. Is there a motion? Second,
I appreciate you doing this work, but I don't think we're quite there, and I'll move to favor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
No? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.